City to face the 4-4 Steelers. Big Ben still working his way back from knee surgery. The Cowboys are currently first in the NFC, while the Steelers wouldn't be in the playoffs if the season ended today. Vegas has Pittsburgh favored by 2.5. Stephen A., is this a must-win for your Steelers?
I don't think there's any question that it's a must-win. The Baltimore Ravens seem to have corrected themselves to some degree. They certainly beat the Pittsburgh Steelers last week. I think when you also look at the Pittsburgh Steelers and what we're seeing from them right now, there's an identity crisis. I mean, as I'm looking at them right now, I'm wondering what the hell is going on. I know D'Angelo Williams getting ready to have knee surgery. You still have Le'Veon Bell. You still have Antonio Brown. You still have Sammy Coates, Darius Hayward-Bay and the crew. I don't understand for the life of me why this offense hasn't been more potent. I know that Big Ben Roethlisberger was a bit rusty. Landry Jones did tell us all not to panic, then reminded us why there's every reason to panic whenever he's out there. But in the end, what we're seeing from the Pittsburgh Steelers right now is a shell of themselves. And I think that this is one of those must-win situations, because if they continue to struggle the way that they have been struggling, then I think they could potentially nosedive. I know Big Ben Roethlisberger, he's good at home. He's undefeated at home, 12 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions at home, whereas it's 5-5 on the road with a 1-3 record. But he's just not himself right now. We know that. I think he came back last week to kind of work out the doldrums, the rust off, because he had been out the 2 previous weeks. But in the end, what this comes down to is that you're going up against a team for the first half of this season in the Dallas Cowboys that have been one of the best teams in the NFL. And if you are the Pittsburgh Steelers and you know the history of the Steelers and the history of the Dallas Cowboys, to allow this fraudulent franchise known as America's team by many, as the Dallas Cowboys, to walk into your house and to find a way to take you out is just something I find and I deem to be relatively inexcusable. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers have to step up. They have to rise to the occasion. They have to embrace the challenge. They have to remember what the black and gold is all about. They have to remember the fact that they have 6 championships on their resume in franchise history with 8 Super Bowl appearances, and they've got to show up and get it done. I believe they will. I believe they understand the urgency of the moment, and I'm rolling with the Steelers to beat the Cowboys, if for no other reason that I am allergic to picking the Cowboys against my Steelers. I'm not having it. I don't want to hear Dallas Cowboy fans' mouth. I don't even know why. I don't even want to think about and imagine what my week is going to be like if the Steelers were to lose this game. Max Kellerman, they are going to do this for me. They're going to do this, Mike Tomlin, Big Ben Roethlisberger,
for you and your timeline.
They're going to do it for me.
For you and your timeline. Could you imagine the harassment that Stephen A. Smith takes on his timeline if the Cowboys beat the Steelers?
Don't wish that on me, bro. Don't say that to me. Don't. I'm trying to tell you. Listen. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to reach out to all the dudes on the Steelers that I know, Max.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell them, this is it. If there's one game on this schedule you better win, it better be this Sunday. Because I can't take it. I can't take it if they lose to the Cowboys.
What I love about the Steelers and Cowboys matchup is that it pits the 2 national teams against each other. Apologies to the Raiders and a few others that have a national following, but the national teams are the Cowboys and the Steelers, in the sense that out-of-market rooting interests, the incorrect one, but the more popular choice, is the Cowboys. The correct out-of-market rooting interest, but the less popular one, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. So when they play each other, it's like the fate of the moral football universe is on the line. And I don't think this is a must-win for Pittsburgh, Stephen A. They're half a game out in a division that doesn't look all that tough. I mean, the Ravens are in first place. They're not that good. They're not that good. They'd be 1 game out if they lost this game. And when you look at the schedule, Cowboys look like the toughest game, at least on paper, for the rest of the season. Cleveland, twice. They haven't played Cleveland yet. They get them twice. They get the Colts on the road. They get the Giants at home. They get the Bengals. They haven't been world beaters. They're not bad, but they haven't been world beaters on the road. I mean, this is just not a difficult schedule here. And then when they play the Ravens again, it's at Pittsburgh, where, as you mentioned, not only is Roethlisberger better, but the Steelers are much better, outscoring opponents by 11.5 points a game. They're scoring over 28 points a game, and they have over 400 yards of offense at home. What you point out about Ben Roethlisberger and the offense, I think it's one of the reasons Roethlisberger's actually underrated. Think about what that Pittsburgh offense looks like when he's not on the field. It's like people forget how to run and catch. When he's on the field, everyone on offense gets better, especially at home, yes. But so this week, will he be back to the Ben Roethlisberger we know, considering what he looked like last week and considering the knee surgery? Maybe not yet, but even if they lose, there'll be one game back of the Ravens with that schedule I just pointed to you. This is a must-win. It's a must-win game for you emotionally, yes. But is it a must-win game really for the Steelers?
Listen, let me tell you something. First of all, I understand the Browns, even though that's Cleveland, that's Pittsburgh, and you just never know because Pittsburgh has a history of losing the games they're supposed to win. I mean, if there is one knock to have against Mike Tomlin, I think they like 5-17 against teams that are under 500 in his career, the kind of teams he's supposed to beat. So you just never know. You can't underestimate that. Sometimes guys get to lag a little bit because they're a bit overconfident. But if you look at the rest of the schedule, Max Kellerman, I'm sorry, all of a sudden, your choice for league MVP at the beginning of the season, Andrew Luck, is not dangerous at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
It's the NFL.
I'd beg
it's the
to differ.
NFL. It's not, you know, they're all dangerous.
Wait a minute. It's the Cowboys. You don't be literal. Answer my damn question. You know, don't take it literal. Like, you know exactly what I'm trying to say.
Go Andrew
Luck at home.
Yeah,
your MVP candidate for the beginning of the season. He ain't dangerous? Of course he's dangerous.
My argument is not that they couldn't lose to the Colts or my Giants or the Bengals, who are decent. That's not my argument. My argument is when you look at the schedule, you don't see any games where you go, that's a loss. Not even one where you're like, that's a loss.
Take into consideration, you got Indianapolis on the road. You got the Giants. I can't sleep on them with Odell Beckham Jr. against this Steelers secondary. Are you kidding me? I'm scared he might have 300 yards.
Shepard.
Okay. Then you got a game at Buffalo. Buffalo they're a bunch of rough riders at home. Yeah. We can't ignore that.
Okay, my point is this, Stephen A. There's no Seattle. There's no New England. There's no even Atlanta or Oakland.
But the Steelers are not the Steelers.
Okay,
but the Steelers are not the Steelers.
That's
the point.
If you said who are the top 5 teams in the league, none of them appear on the schedule after the Cowboys game, where, by the way, the Steelers are favored. And let me just say about this game.
But the Steelers ain't the top 5.
And let me just say about this game that I also think the Steelers can win. That neither defense is very good. The Cowboys' defense looks better than it is because of ball control. But in this case, I don't think either defense is going to be able to stop the other offense. And in a situation like that, do you like the offense that runs the ball or the offense that throws the ball? I like the offense that throws the ball. And to me, that's Roethlisberger to Antonio Brown. Never mind Le'Veon Bell, who we all know is, you know, if Zeke looks better now, it's because of the success of the Cowboys. Le'Veon Bell, when healthy, is the best back in the league. I think the Steelers can win this game, and this is the toughest game on their schedule.
Le'Veon Bell is averaging 4.5 yards a carry. He's also fresh off of a 14-carry for 32-yard performance against the Baltimore Ravens. Somehow, some way, they're going to have to get him going. There's no doubt about that. Antonio Brown, I'm just looking at it right now. I'm looking at his numbers, and I got to tell you, Max, I ain't overly impressed. This is a dude that's had 1,400, 1,600, 1,800 yards the last 3 seasons. 8 games in, he's got 55 receptions for 677 yards. Now, Ben Roethlisberger were out for 2 for 3 games. All I'm saying to you is this. There's reason for concern. I'm worried, but damn it, the Steelers better come through for me this weekend.
What's that tell you about Antonio Brown? You know what it tells me? He's due for like a 300-yard game. He's due to go bananas right now. I'm not worried about Antonio Brown.
Steelers got this.
Well, I hope you're right.
I got a good feeling about it.
I hope you're right.
Max, you think they're going to win it?
I hope y'all can have y'all feelings, but y'all ain't the ones that's going to be suffering if they lose Monday. If they lose when you come in on Monday.
You need to learn about my intuition and feelings. You need to stick with me. I think the Steelers got it.
By the way, that's the one silver lining for me is I get to torture you on Monday if they lose.
Half of the Cowboys people are your best friends anyway.
Hold on. I feel a cold coming on. I might not be here Monday.
You are always here.
I might call in sick Monday.
Yeah.
I might call in sick Monday.
Okay.
I'm telling you right now. I just can't take the Cowboys. I just can't take it. The Dallas Cowboys have to lose this weekend. They just have to lose. I just can't take it. I can't take their fans. I can't take
Steven, no
it.
days
They
off,
gotta
Smith.
lose.
He'll be here. Don't you worry. He'll be here, people. Stay tuned either way. But we need our First Take fam to get involved. Get on Twitter and answer this question, please. Who is the Cowboys MVP so far this season, Dak Prescott or Ezekiel Elliott. We'll share those results a little later in the show. But coming up next, the Dak attack makes a stop in Pittsburgh this weekend when the 7-1 Cowboys face the struggling Steelers. Not only does the Cowboys rookie quarterback have America's team at the top of the NFC at the midway point, but he is second in the NFL in QBR, only trailing one Tom Brady. Will, should Dak be considered for MVP?
Is this where I gain my credibility or lose my fans here? No, Dak should not be considered for the MVP.
Will, both of
very
your
big of
fans
you.
just said you lost them.
And here's why. This is how objective I am. I can
And that was
set
me and
aside my
Molly.
fan. Max, I never thought you were a fan. Here's why. Okay, I think the most valuable player award, number one, should not go to the best player on the best team. That's nonsense. It shouldn't go to the guy putting up the best statistical year as well. That's why Matt Ryan's not the MVP. These are the two questions I think you have to ask when analyzing who an MVP is. Number one, who is most responsible for their team's situation? For the Cowboys, in that case, it would be 7-1. And the answer is, by the way, Dak Prescott. The only problem is that's not the only question. The second question is, if you took him off the team and placed him on another team, would he drastically change the fortunes of that team? This is why LeBron James is the MVP every year in basketball. Because whichever team you put him on, he changes the fortunes of that team the most drastically. And Dak, going to another team, does not drastically change the fortunes of the Cleveland Browns, or for that matter, the New England Patriots. The MVP, by that analysis, mine, which I think is the correct one, is Tom Brady. Tom Brady is the closest we have to a man who can change the fortunes of whatever team he is on. Yes, I understand how well the Patriots played without him. But have you noticed it, Max? Have you noticed they are winning by 11 points in every game he's played since then? It's not even close how much he is blowing out of points.
Two things you're missing there. One,
Please.
Marginal utility. You don't need to win by 11 points. You just need to win. So, two, Tom Brady's played in half the games. So, pretty tough to make up 50% of the games so far, 50% of the value that someone else had when you just didn't have it. By the way, there's actually another argument. You assume that Tom Brady would do this on every other team. We've never seen him without Bill Belichick. We have seen the Patriots without Tom Brady. They're pretty good. They're almost not quite as good. They win almost as many games. Here's the argument for Dak Prescott. I can't believe that you are arguing against him. Maybe it's Will that's the Jerry Jones.
Well, I am.
Stephen A. Smith.
I am the Tony Romo.
The Tony
Williams.
Romo guy. Here's the thing about Dak Prescott. Sure, if you took him out from behind that offensive line and threw him somewhere else, sure. Same thing with Ezekiel Elliott. That offensive line is a lot to do with why they're good. And sure, you mentioned people say he's leaving touchdowns on the field. The thing is, he's winning. All he can do is play those games. And then what kind of numbers is he putting up? He is elite in QBR. Only Tom Brady is ahead of him. Expected points added. He's top 3. And so how can one player who's ahead of him, who's played in half the games that he's played in, at this point be ahead of him in the MVP talk? To your other point about taking him off the team and dropping him somewhere else, yes, that's why he wouldn't get my vote as MVP right now. But he's certainly in the conversation. If I had to vote, I'd vote for Matt Ryan. But Dak Prescott is certainly in the conversation.
Dak Prescott is a rookie 4th-round pick who's got 12 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, has thrown for over 2,000 yards, is completing 66% of his passes, which are numbers that will rival Russell Wilson right now. And more importantly, he's working for a team and producing for a team that has no identity on the defensive side of the ball. They are tied for the best record in football. And oh, by the way, in the process of all of that, we must take history into consideration. Because if we're going to look, Will, at the Tom Brady's of the world and the LeBron James of the world and say, no matter what team they go to, this is what they do and this is what they produce, et cetera, et cetera. Even though that isn't applicable to Tom Brady because, like Max Kellerman said, he's only played for one coach and one franchise in his career. The bottom line is if you're going to take that into consideration, why not take this into consideration? With the exception of the 2014 season, in which the Dallas Cowboys went 12-4, won a wild card playoff game, lost in the divisional playoff game to the Green Bay Packers in 2014. With the exception of that, what have they done in the career of Tony Romo? Pretty close to nothing. We're looking at records of 9-7. In 2009, they won 11-5 before losing a divisional playoff game. After that, they were 6-10, and then 8-8 for 3 consecutive years. And last year, they were 4-12, primarily due to the injury of Tony Romo, no less. But the bottom line is that from an historical perspective, we look at the Dallas Cowboys. They've been a model of ineptitude. They haven't been that impressive, as we all know. They haven't won a Super Bowl in so many years, okay? You've got hype machine personified in Jerry Jones, but really nothing else. And then Dak Prescott comes along, and Ezekiel Elliott comes along with that massive offensive line, no doubt, and here they are producing. We're looking at a Dak Prescott with his athleticism. We're looking at the young lion that he is, the durability. We also have to juxtapose that to a Tony Romo that's had about 4 back injuries in the last 2.5 years, whose health is suspect and highly questionable. You look at all of those different things, and Dak Prescott, able to take the reins, keep the team under control, keep the turnovers at a minimum, and producing the way that he is he the favorite? Absolutely not. But is he an MVP candidate, and should he be an MVP candidate? He absolutely should.
I'm perfectly happy and willing to consider Dak Prescott for an MVP. I mean, I am a fan after all, but I don't think Dak Prescott is the best quarterback on his own roster. I don't think he's the best quarterback on the sidelines for the Dallas Cowboys.
I think we know that because he's the only one that's been quarterbacking for them. Where the hell has Tony Romo been? He's on the sideline. How can he be a comparison right now?
By the way, that's another point I'd like to piggyback. Will, think about that for a second. He hasn't gotten into a game, and he's ready now, and he ain't going to get in anytime soon if Dak keeps playing like this. What does that tell you? Because you and I are on the same page about this. Tony Romo is an excellent quarterback, and Dak has taken his job at the moment. Not just, Romo's ready to play. He ain't the quarterback.
Romo's not ready to play. He's not suiting out this week. He's not going to be in pads on the Cowboys sideline this week.
Why do you think that is?
And I will tell you, I've said it on this show, and I'll say it again, Tony Romo will be starting for the Dallas Cowboys before this whole song is done being sung.
Know what the medical staff said about Tony Romo's injury? He has a bad case of the Dak Prescotts right now. Otherwise, he checks out fine, except they x-rayed him, and they found he has the Dak Prescotts. Can't get back on the field.
One of the biggest insults I receive on this show, besides being ganged up on consistently, is that I don't watch the show enough, that I'm not a fan. It tends to come from one corner in particular. But I do watch.
It's the only corner that matters.
Oh, shots fired.
The only corner that matters.
Oh, don't get salty just because I win all the debates.
Let him go. Let him go.
You know what I'm saying? That's why Max doesn't matter, because he keeps lying to the American public about winning debates. And by the way, don't you sit up here with your little pity party self, because you instigate debates and force us to come against you because you foolishly try to come at us. If you didn't bother us, we wouldn't come back at you.
Let me tell you something.
You bring it on yourself. You bring it on yourself.
There's no pity party. I love this. I love taking you all on at the same time. It's like I'm like a kung fu master.
They're ganging up on me.
That's exactly what I think. Bruce Lee, Kung Fu Master. Let's hear what Twitter thinks. Let's check our timeline. So we asked you guys if who's the Cowboys MVP at this point this season, and 51% say it's Dak. How do we feel about that?
What'd they say? Of the Cowboys?
51% say it's Dak, yes, over, of course, Ezekiel Elliott.
Well, I mean, I'd say that's pretty close. We've got a lot of close votes this week, Molly. That doesn't necessarily mean everybody's going to end up.
Oh, please, football gods, let the Cowboys.
I'll tell you this.
Let the Cowboys lose to the Giants at MetLife and let the Giants take over first place.
I thought it would have been more Zeke. I
love Dak. I do think by the one analysis, if you took one player off that Cowboys squad and put him on another, who's going to succeed? It is Zeke.
Yep.
You put Zeke on another squad, he's still lighting it up.
No question. Gentlemen, you got anything to add there? Are we ready to move on?
Dak can make a lot of teams better, too. He's really good.
Will is wrong. I like Ezekiel Elliott a lot, especially since week 1 or 2. He's been an absolute stud. But if he had a weak offensive line, that would not be the case. He's no Barry Sanders. The guys that you could say, in terms of the level of production, elusivity is a really, really big deal for a running back that can do anything, anywhere. But when you're a powerful, violent runner, even though you hit gaps quickly and you break tackles, the reality is that if you have a suspect offensive line, there is no way on earth that a running back like Ezekiel Elliott would do what he has done.
Know who the MVP of the Cowboys is?
Has a lot to do with
MVP of the Cowboys is Stephen Jones.
I knew you were going to. I know you
what it is?
well now. Well.